I often end up talking about bikes, and gravel bikes in particular. I've been using gravel bikes for quite a long time now, and it's just a fantastic network of gravel roads, particularly across Thailand. And when it's hot and the roads are straight, it can get really tedious on the tarmac, but you turn off of the tarmac, get onto the gravel, and as soon as that crunch starts beneath the tyres, it's fantastic. When I built my first gravel bike, which would have been I guess 10 years ago, I didn't know I was building a gravel bike. What I was trying to build was a road bike that had disc brakes and fatter tyres, because fatter tyres were more comfortable. That was what I was interested in, and they gripped if the dirt tracks got a bit muddy. So unbeknown to me at the time, I built a gravel bike that was with a steel frame, and it was a great bike, and I've still got it. It's in my mum's loft. I hope she's not watching this, or else I'll be in trouble. But here in Thailand, I am lucky enough to have 2 titanium gravel bikes, and the one I'm going to talk about today is this one. This is a Kinesis ATR V2. So Kinesis is a small British brand. Like most brands, their bikes are made in China, I believe, or Taiwan. The ATR that I ride, which is a titanium frame, is no exception. And I have to say, you know, there's a lot of talk on social media and the such like about made in China frames being, oh, made in sweatshops in China, and oh, you've got to have made in the USA. What an arrogant attitude to think that a Chinese welder of titanium is any less skilled than a British welder or an Italian welder or an American welder. I mean, it's beautiful quality welding on this bike. And it started raining behind me, look. I think the rain's coming in from all directions, so I'm gonna start working my way back home. Over where the rain is, that's a mountain called Doi Chang, which literally translates to Elephant Mountain, and it's typical of the sort of climbs that we've got here in northern Thailand. The gradients, they can hit 30%, 25 to 30%. When you're climbing a hill and you think, oh, that's flattened out now, and you look down at your gadget on your bicycle and it's still 15%, and you think that's flat, that gives you an idea of just how steep a lot of the climbs are here. Which brings me on to an important part of building a bike like this Kinesis of mine, is the gearing. On some of our tours, Vietnam for example, we'll have climbs 15-20 kilometers in duration. In China, Sichuan, we have climbs 40 kilometers in duration. And don't forget, well, today it's 35 degrees, you know, we can hit 40. So we need the gear for people like me that perhaps aren't as macho as they could be. So what I'm running on 1x, absolutely converted to 1x. Like most people, I used to have 2 chain rings at the front, but since I experimented with 1x, all 3 of my bikes have got the same system. At the moment I'm running a SRAM 1042 at the back, and at the front I've got a 38 tooth chain ring, and with that, yeah, I can get up pretty much anything, other than perhaps some off-road where it's a bit scrambly. I don't think I've had to push yet, but it's been close, I have to confess. I do have a Garbaruk 1036 cassette, which is really nice. It's lovely quality, apart from it started to squeak in the 3 smallest cogs, and that's why I took it off. With the 38 on the front and a 10 on the back, I can pedal at 50 kilometers an hour. I guess it's about 9,500 RPM at 50 kilometers an hour. I can't do 50 on the flat. I'm just not strong enough. So occasionally I can reach 40 on the flat. So it's plenty tall enough gearing. If I'm on a downhill and I get to 50, well, I stop pedaling anyway, because, you know, when you're on a longer ride, I think it's important to conserve your energy. So why pedal above 50? You have your bike geared for 70. Well, if you want to do 70, you might as well get a motorbike, hadn't you? So that's my gearing. It's SRAM Force 1. The brakes are obviously Force 1 as well by SRAM. I've never had any problem with them. I think they're good brakes. Some people say that they're not as good as Shimano as far as braking power is concerned and modulation. I think that they're they're just the same as the Shimano hydraulic disc brakes I had on drop bars on another gravel bike. I think that probably part of the issue can be because they take a little bit more bleeding. There's more of a technique to bleed SRAM. Perhaps some people don't have their SRAM brakes properly bled. This is a saddle that came on a mountain bike that I bought maybe 10 years ago, and it's been kicking around ever since. So I've just recently put it on. It's nice and light, and I did 100 kilometers on it a couple of days ago and I was fine. So it seems to be a fine saddle, and my old one's wearing out, so I put this on and I'm quite happy. Seat post, it's from Rosebike in Germany. It claims to be a flexi carbon fibre seat post. Yeah, it's fine. I had a Linsky titanium seat post on here with a 25mm setback, and that I really do think that made a difference. There was some flex in it. It did improve the ride quality. It's now on my Surly Ogre Scrambler. Why, you might ask, would you want to put a flex comfort titanium seat post on a bike that's got 3-inch tyres? Well, I put it on to try something and I just think it looks great. I really like that bike's got carbon rims and it's a steel frame, and now it's got a titanium seat post, and it's sort of, you know, it's really mixing up things that you don't normally mix. So I just like it, it's fun. Yeah, back to this one. So, and it's got SRAM Force cranks, which are carbon fibre, quite light. They're cranks, they seem to work. The forks are Enve CX forks. I got them because I was a bit of a victim of fashion, I think. Yeah, the handlebars are, they're Ritchey VentureMax, and I like them very much. I've also had Salsa cow chippers and Salsa cowbells. I like them all. Personally, I prefer the flare, so I prefer the cow chipper or the VentureMax. They've both got this flare at the front, which I like. This Ritchey VentureMax, it's a shallower drop, which is great. I mean, I'm not looking to get really low and aero. I just want actually comfort and control. So it's very short distance to drop from the hood down onto the bottom of the bar. It's got this ergo bump. Once you're down there on the drop, which I often am because it's a shallow drop, and then that really sits nicely in the palm of your hand. So I like it. I've also got Kinesis ATR V1, and I just finished the Mongolia tour on my V1, and it was great. It was really good. Some people said you're kind of crazy to be doing this on a gravel bike, but it worked nicely for me. So yeah, but I finished that tour and I thought, wouldn't it be nice to do it next time with some fatter tyres? So got back to our little humble abode in China and started looking around, and I saw the V2 ATR, and I put it in a basket, you know, on the internet. After a few beers one night, I thought, oh, sod it, and pressed buy. So there you are, I bought the frame. And anyway, the V1, I'd always been happy with the V1. From the moment I put it together, I started riding, a few pedal strokes, stopped, adjusted the handlebars a little bit, that was it. It was just so comfortable, it was great. And this V2, I've just never been able to get it as comfortable as the V1. I do think a big part of that's in my head. There's not much else in my head, so perhaps that's what's filling it up. But I can only think it's psychological, because I've done everything I can to this one. Having said that, I've ridden 200 odd kilometers on it on numerous occasions, and that 200 kilometer ride is not to be sniffed at. It's quite a long way, and yeah, it wasn't the most comfortable thing. But then again, if you're sitting in an armchair all day, it's not comfortable, is it? So anyway, it turned out that there are differences between the V1 and the V2. The V1's got a bit of a taller stack height. I think it's slightly different reach. So I don't know if that was the difference. I was very lucky. I got some old wheels with some Hope hubs I could already use, and then my friend Lee in China, he's got some great contacts in the cycling world in China, and he's got a wheel builder who builds the wheels for the Yunnan racing team, and Lee's got contacts with factories where a lot of carbon fibre is made. So I said, Lee, I want some wheels. He said, have carbon. I said, right you are. And I was a little bit sceptical, but Lee said, look, these are what I use on my mountain bike, and I've seen the way Lee rides. I mean, he's pretty hard. He said, we all use them and they're bomb proof. And they've been great. I've had no problems whatsoever. I'm really pleased with them. They were laced together with Sapim race spokes, and touch wood, never had a problem, never broken a spoke. Really good tolerances. The tyres, particularly WTB and Donnelly tyres, they mount up no problem tubeless. Just use a floor pump. In 650B I can get 50mm in, which is really nice. And my favourite 50mm 650B tyre is the Donnelly Explore MSO. I think it's really nice. Some people might say, oh, it's a bit heavy, but it rolls really well and it's nice and comfy, and I'm very pleased with those tyres. It's got 12mm through axle, or you can actually change the dropouts and use quick release, whichever you prefer. I'm using through axle. It's got a good old-fashioned English threaded bottom bracket. Great. I mean, there's some companies and they're using press fit bottom brackets on titanium bikes. They just don't deserve to sell any. What is that all about, eh? And it's got internal cable routing. Do I think that's a good thing? No, I don't. Perhaps if you need an aero bike to win the time trial in the Giro Italia, then maybe, yeah, it's a good thing. But not for I don't see what the point is. It's just a fashion thing. I like to juggle things around on my bike, and every time I take the brakes off, if I want to take this off and let's say put Shimano brakes on, you've got to cut the hose, because you've got to cut the olive off because it won't go through the frame, and it's just not worth the hassle. Every time you do that, the hose gets a bit shorter. I think that you're much better off with external cables and full length cable housing. It's a good bike. If I was buying another titanium gravel bike now, what would I buy? I'd buy a Enve GR 300, which it was on my mind when I bought this. And home. Time for a beer.